get on here and just do a quick little rant on boundaries and mental health and why a lot of people I kind of feel like end up getting confused in the world, basically. And one of the main things I've discovered that contributes to that at this point. And one of the main things I will say I have discovered in my lifetime that contributes to um, people being confused essentially about where they stand and where another person stands. I have discovered that a big part of the problem is what is reflected back to you from these other people. So, for example, um, a lot of people end up getting stuck with or surrounded by very dysfunctional and unhealthy people throughout their lives. And one way that this can start and then exacerbate and continue to be a problem throughout someone's life is that the caregivers that were supposed to be accurately reflecting back who you are, what you are, etc., don't properly do that. And then because that is your outline or template for relationships, then that becomes a pattern that you continue to carry on with you, which is essentially being gaslit. I mean, that's really what it is. It's essentially being gaslit and not being accurately um, validated, basically, for who you are or for what you are. And so, because of this, this can create issues in all other areas, and usually parents that don't accurately reflect back their own children's realities have a variety of emotional issues that lead them to not be able to do so, and then that also ties into boundaries. Um, so I guess basically what I'm saying is that I'm realizing that a big part of the problem that people have is not that what they're doing is a problem, but that the people that they're around who are reflecting back to them what they're doing are not healthy. And that seems to be the biggest part of the problem, is that if you're around dysfunctional people or unhealthy people and you try to go set boundaries, well, of course, those people are going to have negative reactions, or they're going to reflect back to you that that's a problem when it's actually not. You see what I'm saying? So it can be an issue in a lot of different areas. And so then what happens is that all of these healthier things that you're trying to do, like set boundaries or communicate how you feel, because it is being directed at somebody that is emotionally unintelligent and dysfunctional in and of themselves, everything that's reflected back to you is going to be inaccurate. And so this is why it is so important for people who have kids to be emotionally intelligent, because this is how a lot of people end up fucking their kids up, is not being able to accurately reflect back to them who they are, what they are, how they feel, and their reality. A lot of times parents gaslight, or they reflect back in such a way that like condemns or blames the child or the person, you know what I mean? So over time, that trains a human being to feel like, well, I can't speak up and get my needs met. I can't, I won't be seen or heard, basically, inadvertently. So I guess the point in me coming on here and saying this is I just wanted to get it off my chest that sometimes with people that you're trying to set boundaries with, not sometimes, looking to them or their reaction as a as a indicator of what you're like, whether what you're doing is healthy or not, is not, especially if it's a toxic parent, is not really going to help you. And I think that's why people end up getting so stuck in these dysfunctional dynamics, is that you get stuck in a false reality of everything that's being reflected back to you being inaccurate or skewed in some way, shape, or form. And so then you take in a reality that is not even real. And you're living by this false reality and standards of a reality that is, you've been told is real, but isn't, if that makes sense. So what I'm basically saying is, how do you break free from that? This is why it's important for us to like grow up and see our parents as they are, so that we don't keep staying stuck in these patterns that are typically created and strengthened by them. So how do you do that? I mean, one thing is, if you're setting boundaries, I don't give a fuck who it is. If somebody reacts poorly to your boundaries, that's a red flag. If they give you a hard time or have a problem with you saying no to something, I don't give a fuck who it is. You don't owe anybody shit unless it's your kid or your fucking spouse, okay? And in that case, you don't owe those people that. You agreed to that. That's a responsibility you fucking signed up for, and therefore it's something that you agreed to carry out, and therefore that's your responsibility to do so, okay? Unless it's your kid or it's your spouse who you made a commitment to, you don't owe your parents shit. I'm sorry. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. I think a lot of millennials in particular struggle with this. And then I think Gen Xers, they struggle with it too. But I think a lot of them have been so brainwashed by the baby boomers that they just kind of have repeated the same cycle. But a lot of millennials are waking up to this fact, because I think we have been brainwashed into thinking that we owe our parents something because, oh, they did this for us or they did that or whatever. They provided food and clothing, which, by the way, guys, is literally what every single fucking parent is supposed to do. Like, these parents that come out and start making you feel like obligated or guilty because, oh, I paid for you to be alive, is the sickest shit I've ever fucking heard. Like, and it proves my point even further. It's like, exactly, I didn't ask to be here, and so therefore I don't owe you shit. The only person, to be quite honest, that owes anybody shit is the parent, because they're the ones who decided to fuck and have you, excuse my language. You didn't say, oh yeah, come on guys, woo. It's not like you were like a little sperm or egg cheering your parents on. Yeah, come on, please bring me here, I'm begging you. Like, no, bitch. That's not how the fuck it worked, so I don't owe you shit, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be there to, have your family members' backs or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, I was not born to be someone's slave or to cater to them or to, no. And the reality of it is, if this has not been a reciprocal relationship, if I have not been treated the way that I deserve to be treated, for the past decade, I don't give a fuck who you call yourself in my life. I don't give a shit if you call yourself, whatever the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. I'm not going to put up with bullshit and then accept bullshit. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be mistreated and put up with people not giving to me the way I deserve to be, given to, and then expect that I'm just going to forever cater to what they want and need. And part of the problem in my own particular circumstance has been the fact that I'm the most fucking emotionally intelligent person in my family, outside of like a couple of my other siblings who work a similar job, title to me. But either way, this is part of the problem. And so part the reason that's a problem is because of that, people have just expected that, oh yeah, she can just put up with whatever, we don't have to worry about her. Yeah, oh well, oh, you got involved with a criminal, oh yeah, sounds like you can handle that. I mean, it's just I'm not saying that actually happened, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been through some crazy shit in my life, and people around me know that. And so then they just think that, oh, well, you can handle it, but you should still be there for us. And it's like, mm-mm. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. And that's not how the fuck it was ever going to work. And that's where, again, people are about to be shocked in this era of my life because, like I said, I don't care who you are. I think people don't understand. My mom was is my favorite. She was my favorite of all my family members. She's still alive. I still love my mom, but favorite, okay? But I also ended up having to cut her off because she was not healthy. And so I think what people really don't understand is that's the frame of mind I'm coming from. Is my mother is the one I was most protective over, the one I loved the most out of everybody, no offense. And I even cut her off. So I think people really don't get, they think, oh, well, it must have not, no, that was like my favorite. And I only cut this crazy bee off because there was no other option. So basically what I'm saying is, I think people don't understand the lens that I'm coming from. They think, oh, well, that was just easy for you and you must not have really given a shit and that's why you did that. And it's like, no, actually, that was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do, which is why I don't have a problem doing that with anybody else at this point, is basically what I'm saying. And so, I keep it real. I don't give a shit if people are offended. I don't care. And so I think basically what it comes down to is people don't really know that, that I favor my mom. I've always favored my mom. I always will. I still like her more than most of these people. But so I guess what I'm saying is I find it kind of funny that I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say with that. I'm saying that I don't know what these people thought it was. Me cutting you off has no, reflection upon, there's no connection between that and how much I love you and care about you. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not about that for me. It's how healthy are you? Is it possible to have you in my life? And once I realize that it's not possible to have certain people in my life, I act accordingly, and it has nothing to do with how much I like them or love them or the feelings that I have towards them. It has to do with how healthy are you? Are you a healthy enough person to remain in my life? Do you deserve to be in my life? I don't make, contrary to popular belief, I'm a Cancer. I don't make decisions based on emotion. I make decisions based on logic and emotional intelligence. There's a difference. What is going to be the most emotionally intelligent decision for all parties involved here, but in particular for me? So I don't let my feelings get in the way. And I guess what I'm saying is that I think that's a big part of healing, is not allowing who the person is or their influence on you or over your life or the part they've played in your life to lead you to be swayed to make a decision that is outside of what is best for you. You know what I mean? Because parents and sometimes people will do that too, where it's like, oh, well, I'm your mom or I'm your dad and blah, 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 blah. It's like, we really got to think about it like this. You think about birds and nature and whales and all these animals. Do these fucking birds and these animals in nature guilt their fucking kids when the birds in the bird nest say, okay, mom, see ya, bye, and they never see each other again? My point in saying this is an ego thing, and this is like a sick thing that humans have for some reason decided is normal to do. And like nobody else does this. In fact, most other like mammals or animals or whatever, it's like they push their fucking kids out of the nest. It's like, see ya, bye, see ya. The only fucking weirdos that torture and torment their kids for the rest of their lives are humans. And I know some people could say, well, what do you mean? Like, what if I'm talking about toxic, dysfunctional dynamics, you know? That's what I'm talking about. Is like, so yeah, I mean, because really in a healthier dynamic, that's even what humans do. In a healthier dynamic, human parents get to a point where it's like, okay, my kids have grown up. Okay, bye. See ya. Have fun with your life. Call me if you need me, or we'll talk if you want to talk. But like, that's what I'm trying to say. And it's like, it's only humans that have created this really sick thought process that their kids should forever be indebted to them. And I don't know who the fuck came up with that, but they need to be slapped. Because no. It's not healthy. Especially if the person has not been somebody who's been supportive to you. You know, and that doesn't mean financially speaking. I think that's what people don't understand too. When you're a parent, that's expected. Like, a parent, that is literally one of your responsibilities. If like, and that is like a basic thing that I'm pretty sure anybody that's anybody just knows that, yeah, like if I have a kid, that's my financial responsibility, and that's just expected. That's not like a, what's the word for it? That's not like a luxury. That's not like, oh, thank you so much. That's not something you should thank you so much, parents, for like feeding me and keeping me alive. Like, again, no, you brought me here. I didn't ask to be here. That was your job to do that. That's your job to do that, because you're the one who wanted kids, right? So again, it's just very backwards thought processes, and I don't have time for it. And I'm very relieved and excited, because in this lifetime, I never thought that I would get to a point where I felt bigger. And I don't mean bigger in like a bully way or unhealthy way, but like bigger than the people who have looked down upon me, bigger than the people who have made me feel small. And when you finally get to that point, man, I'm telling you, and this is a big one, because dads are hard. You know, they're the authority figure. You don't ever want to, I mean, for me, you know, with your mom, it's a little bit different, but that one has been a little bit more challenging for me. But at the end of the day, it's like part of the healing is realizing that these people who we call our parents are people just like us, and we don't have to like them or even respect them just because they brought us here. You know, not everybody deserves your respect. You know, even the people who created you don't necessarily deserve your respect just for that alone. You know, and I think a lot of times humans get brainwashed into thinking that no, we should be forever indebted and forever grateful for to these people for creating us. And it's like, that's a backwards thought process. Kids are not to be had to be slaves and to love you. No, you have kids because you have something to offer. You have something to give. You want to love them. And any person who is having a kid with the expectation of that relationship being reciprocal or mutual is emotionally unintelligent. That's not how it works, ever. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I know some people are probably like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, reciprocal in some senses, but I just don't think, like, you don't ever owe your parents anything. And if a parent makes you feel like you owe them something, then they're manipulative. That's emotionally manipulative to do that. Because the nature of the relationship in and of itself is one of like authority. So like the parent is the one that's the guide. They're the one that is providing for you. You get what I'm saying? So it doesn't go the other way around. Maybe when you get older and stuff like that, but that's only if there has been consideration and, up until that point. But yeah, no one's expected to just do shit just because someone is their parent. Like, I don't know. And I think a lot of times in society we are pressured and brainwashed into thinking that's the case. And it's not. I mean, especially in circumstances where people have not been there to properly support you. You don't owe someone an explanation. And I think the most damaging, I just think it can be very damaging. But, yeah, my point in coming on here and saying this is to say that I think getting past your parents and learning to set boundaries with them can be some of the hardest, like one of the hardest things that you have to do in your life, but especially if they're dysfunctional. But I think it's really getting to a point where you recognize that your peace of mind and your self-respect is more important than their comfort, because I think unfortunately, again, the dynamic that's been created a lot of times between baby boomers and their kids who are millennials is like we feel forever indebted, like, oh my gosh, we just owe you something. And that's the biggest lie that we've been told. It's the biggest lie that we've been told. And I think the biggest part of healing is breaking free from that brainwashing and recognizing that unless you're my husband or my spouse or my child, when I'm a grown adult, I don't owe you anything, especially if I wasn't treated with respect and dignity and care in the ways that I needed to be when you were supposed to be doing your job as a parent, So I think that's what it comes down to, is just setting boundaries and having the strength and the courage to speak up for yourself. And I think a lot of people are scared to do this because they're afraid that, whoever the person is that they're setting boundaries with might cut them off, or they might abandon them. And the reality of it is, if you setting boundaries leads to somebody abandoning you or whatever just because you spoke up for yourself, then that tells you a lot about who that person is, and you don't want that person in your life anyway, because a healthy person, including your parent, is going to care about and consider where you stand, and they're not going to put you in that position. So, I mean, and yeah, we teach people how to treat us, but the reality of it is there are some people that are more dysfunctional than others. And I don't know. I think if it gets to a certain point where a parent is so fucking delusional that they can't see themselves clearly and therefore can't respect your boundaries because they're not seeing their own behavior and how unhealthy it is, I think a boundary at that point is just disengaging and distancing yourself. Like, there's no point in banging your head against the wall trying to get an emotionally abusive or emotionally manipulative person to try and get on the same page as you. Like, that's where you just get to a point where you say, this person's not going to see themselves clearly, and therefore, because they're not going to see themselves clearly, they're damn sure not going to see me clearly. And so I'm going to stop trying to get that from them, because that's a lot of times what we try, is to get that approval from our parents, from our mom or our dad. I just want you to see me and see that. No, no. The reality of it is, a healthy person is going to see that. You're not going to have to do all this weird shit to get them to see it. Okay, at 31, if you're still doing that, 32, 33, in your 30s, even in your late 20s, and you're trying to get some type of approval from a parent that you feel hasn't been met yet, guess what? I have bad news for you. It ain't coming. That validation, that approval that you're looking for, it's not coming. And so what do you do? What do you have to do? What's the solution? Let it go. Let it go, and not only let go of that, but let go of these people, because the reality of it is that unconditional love is grounded in unconditional acceptance anyway. So if you feel like you're having to seek approval from your own goddamn parents, you're in trouble. And what does that mean? That means don't waste your time, because the reality of it is, healthy parents, they see and hear their kids and recognize their value and worth. And if you find yourself in a position where you're feeling like you have to prove that or explain that or defend that, then that person does not see your value and worth to begin with, and that's your answer. So I know some people are like, well, what does that mean? I just cut my parents off? I mean, whatever the fuck you want to do. That's not what that means. It just means, like, how much, I mean, if you have a dysfunctional situation going on with parents or with somebody, how much do you want to put up with? How much of your own self-respect and dignity are you willing to sacrifice for someone else's comfort, is the real question. Do you want to be the caretaker that appeases everybody else so they'll like you and so that they're comfortable, but you're constantly in pain? Or do you want to give yourself some comfort for once and say, you know what? Who gives a fuck what these people think about me or what they say about me? Like, who these people are, or the reality of who these people are. And I think there comes a day and age where you have to wake up and really recognize who you are, and stand in your own power enough to say, listen, I know who I am and I don't deserve this shit. And the reality of it is, if you want to be around me, you need to start rising up to meet me. You need to start coming up to my level and my standards in order to be around me, and not the other way around. And that's what I've started doing to take my power back, because I realized, I'm seeking approval from people that aren't even, I mean, no offense, but aren't even as good as me. I'm seeking approval from people who have done, like, not even half of the emotional healing or development or growth that I have. I'm seeking validation and approval from people who don't even fucking know themselves. Why the fuck am I doing that? Because these people call themselves quote unquote dad or quote unquote mom. That's why. Because our society has told us that these are important relationships in our lives and important people in our lives. And because of that, it's put us in a state of ignoring the obvious, which is emotional abuse or toxicity or dysfunction within a family, that really is much more important to pay attention to and get the fuck away from than trying to cater to or keep a relationship going with a person just because they call themselves mom or dad or who the fuck ever. That's my point. Is that how much of my life, have I wasted doing this? Too much. And you get to a point where you start to awaken to the pattern, and it's like, I don't know, it just reminds me of like a bear that's been in hibernation that, you wake up and it's like, pissed. That's what I would liken gaslighting and brainwashing to, and what it feels like when you wake up from that. It's infuriating. Infuriating, is that the word? Because it's like your mind and your emotions have been hijacked. and controlled, and you've been living a certain life experience based on that, you know. And I don't know. So basically, I'm basically coming on here to say that I am now standing in my power. I don't give a fuck who the person is. I don't give a fuck if I lose every single person in my life. If you are not respecting me as a human being, respecting my general dignity and humanity, if you are going to try to guilt me or make me feel bad for having boundaries, not only am I going to fucking call you out for exactly who and what the fuck you are, but my actions and behavior are going to show you that you're not going to you're not going to be allowed to be around me acting that way. So, yeah, I don't care who you are, you know? I really don't at this point. I think that that's something I haven't shared with anybody. I've never really vocalized that like my mom is my favorite, and yet I cut her off. And so that's why people don't understand, like, I'm so cutthroat with anybody else, because I'm sorry, if I could cut my own mom off, who I loved and was I felt very protective of my mom, then everybody else, it's not really shit. Even my own dad doesn't know that. He'd probably be surprised to hear that, but I'm very much so like my mom, more so than my dad, I would say. I mean, whatever. I feel like I have the best of both of their traits. I got lucky, but I guess all I'm saying is I don't play favorites, you know? My mom was my favorite and she's the first one I cut off. So I it's about value and principle to me, and whether you respect me or not. And if you don't respect me, I don't give a fuck how much I love you. If I can't trust you and we can't have mutual respect, then we can't have shit. So, it is what it is. But yeah. Basically, just talk about freedom, I mean, this is mentally and emotionally speaking, this is the most free I've probably ever felt in my entire life, because I've gotten to a point where I've recognized all these things and I don't allow fear to control what I do. I don't allow the fear of anything to control what I do, because I'm not really, am I fearful of anything? I'm not fearful of losing anyone anymore. I'm not really. So I think, once you get past some of those fears of abandonment, those deep-seated wounds that are keeping you stuck in certain dynamics that are not good for you, that's how you break free from that too. I mean, it's a process. It's taken me a long time to get here, because I had to sort through years and years and years of emotional and verbal abuse and gaslighting and shit like that, and that takes a long time. I mean, that literally does brain damage. So it's like the ability to, it's like your brain is already working against you. So I guess all I'm encouraging people to do is, like, don't allow people to, like, guilt you or leave you feeling obligated to them, that's not a healthy relationship. That's manipulation. Even if it's a parent, you're not obligated to helping someone just because they're a family member, or just at all, I mean, and especially if it's people that have not contributed to your life in the ways that you've needed. And, some people might be offended by that, because maybe people think that they did try to support you in the best way that they could, but oh well. I think it's just a matter of deciding how dysfunctional the person really is or not. Like, is the person so dysfunctional that, if you're talking about somebody that blames you every time you bring up how you feel, That's somebody that's so dysfunctional that I would argue to say run, from a person like that. And that's the type of shit I'm dealing with, which I'm not going to keep putting up with. And, it's kind of funny and ironic because I'm the one person that has been very cooperative this entire time, and so um, it's pretty unexpected because I'm the one that has been the mediator. I've been the peacemaker. I've been the person that is kind of like the cohesive that keeps things together, and I'm not about to do that anymore because it's a lie. And to be honest, the only reason I was doing that was a means to an ends in my own right. People won't think they want to manipulate you with finances and think they're exploiting you to be forever indebted to them. And, unfortunately for some of these people, again, I'm more emotionally intelligent than I outsmarted them. And now they're mad because the bear that they thought was asleep has actually been sleeping with its eye open this whole time. I saw everything. And these particular people thought, because of the gaslighting and the lies, and this is what happens a lot with me and people. This happens a lot with me and people in relationships, and it's because I don't say shit. And I think I didn't realize it because I carry the high priestess energy. I'm psychic, and so I'm very quiet about my moves, but I pick up on everything. I feel everything. I see everything. I just don't say shit. Because why would I? I mean, that's part of my gift. Why would I help you with why would I help you? Whatever. I don't know how to put it into words, but basically this has been what a lot of people have come to find out about me over the years, is that they thought they were fooling me because I was quiet about things, or I didn't speak up about things, or I came off as cooperative. But that's the intelligence part. That's the emotional intelligence part, is that, I mean, it's a trauma response too. That can be a trauma response too. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I'm going to get on here and do a reading, so I will be right back. Okay? I'll be right back.